Hello heathens, and welcome to my channel. I am Beauty Heathen, and my channel is dedicated, generally speaking, to exploring the subject matter of paganism through the medium of cosmetics. If you enjoy that subject matter or feel my content would be of interest to you, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and set the bell to all to be notified of when I upload new videos. Today is going to be a bit of a departure from my normal content. I know, 2 days in a row. Woohoo! I figured today would be an excellent day to teach you guys how to make a magical or spell candle. As you can see, I have a bunch of candles in front of me. Obviously, I'm only going to use one of them. You can literally get candles from anywhere. You can get them from the dollar store if all you can afford is votive candles, or the little tea light candles from a dollar store. Get them. You don't have to spend a lot of money. Paganism can be as inexpensive or as expensive as you wish. As you can see, I just came back from the super special grocery store known as my kitchen. These candles, if you're interested in them, I got them off Amazon, not sponsored, and have not used them yet, so I'm not putting an affiliate link to them. I'm just showing you what they are. This brand has a lot of different colors, sizes, all that kind of stuff. I've not used them before, so I figured what better chance to try them out than to do so in a video. I mean, it's candles, it shouldn't be that complicated. Although making them frequently is. I know I've tried several times. If you are somebody who is not an adult and you are watching this video, please do not try anything that I am showing you today without the supervision of an adult. Okay? Although from my analytics, most of you are adults, I'm just putting that disclaimer out there. For spell candles, white is a universal color. White can be used for literally any kind of magical practice that you want to do. All that matters, and pretty much all that matters in any form of magic, is your intention and your energy that you personally put into the ritual that you're doing. Now, if you were to do spell work or ritual work, I know I've mentioned in the setting your intention video, which I'll try to link somewhere up here, that it helps sometimes to use a focuser or something that will keep the intention of your ritual work going while you walk away and go do other things. Because let's face it, real life happens and you can't just sit around focusing intently on every single thing that you want day in and day out. Well, candles kind of act in a way of that focuser. Sometimes they can also be a offering. It just depends on what kind of thing you're delving into and what you're trying to do, you know? There are other colors to candles. Black is generally for protection. Green is for money, as is gold generally, either prosperity or fortune. Silver can be for moon magic, or it can also be for prosperity. A lot of the colors are multi-purpose. Red is love. Yellow and orange tend to be joy, or helping you rid yourself with things like depression. And then there's purple that is generally for healing. Did I miss a color? I think I missed blue, which is frequently for peace or calming. But white can be used universally. It can be used for anything you want it to be, whether it's beneficial or baneful. Baneful means if you're hexing somebody, which I'm not going to teach any of you how to do right now. At least I don't think I'm going to even do it on my channel, because that takes skill and practice that you really need to learn and develop over time. Now, in my grocery store of a kitchen, I got and picked out a few things. Now, you don't need to have all of these things. I just randomly picked things up, and honestly, a couple of things I looked up when I got up here because I wasn't entirely sure the full extent for their purpose. So, let me just fold up this bag, put it to the side. Oops, there we go. Okay, so in front of me I have bay leaves. Let's see if this is washing it out a bit. There we go. Bay leaves. I have poultry seasoning, ground cloves, cinnamon, kosher salt, ground ginger, ground sage, this is green sage or garden sage, and black pepper. Now, a lot of herbs, just like a lot of colors, are multi-purpose. You can use them for many, many, many different things. It all, again, depends on your intention. The two herbs I usually start with, or spices, I should say, when doing any sort of candle magic, are generally salt. And it doesn't have to be kosher salt, it can be table salt. And it does not have to be anything fancy. The only thing I recommend you not purchasing if you do go to a pagan store or a new age store or are shopping online is I absolutely, for the sake of the environment, please do not buy Dead Sea salt. And I know that Dead Sea salt and Dead Sea mud and Dead Sea products tend to be very healing and very good energy-wise and very strong and potent, both in spa products like masks, and they do sell Dead Sea salt. But the problem is that the Dead Sea has been being over cultivated or over harvested, and it's done a lot of damage to the natural landscape, and the ecological importance of the Dead Sea is disappearing as a result. So, it's one of those things where if you stop buying it, the companies will likely stop doing it. So, let's all try to do a little bit better for our environment. Part of being a witch or a kitchen witch or any kind of pagan is generally having deep, deep, profound respect and recognition of our environment and our natural world, and I do feel that sustainability goes hand in hand with that as much as possible. And yes, I do realize that spices are in plastic containers, but let's face it, I recycle. And what's more, until one day I have the ability to set up my own type of mason jar apothecary type situation, I'm just making do with what I can right now. I have these little jars that I also got off Amazon, mainly to help me when making products for my channel. So I didn't anticipate I'd be using them this way, but hey, whatever works, right? I had brought up a few of them the other day when I was doing the video for Kali. You can see the blue lip gloss still in the container. Now, salt and pepper generally are for purification. Pepper can also be for protection as well. And before I get into all of the herbs, I'm going to pick up the poultry seasoning. Now, if you're somebody who's already practicing, you probably looked at this particular one like, what is she doing? Why doesn't she have all these fancy schmancy herbs that, you might get from Azure Green or a pagan store, New Age store, or from a bulk herb site online? Well, the main reason for that is I don't know where my herbs are at the moment. Over the past year or so, I have been moving things around, purging old things, and as I've moved things around, I don't know where some of my stuff is. So I'm going old school. I am going, if you had to go to the dollar store and pick up things, or if all you have is things in your kitchen, guess what? They'll do the trick. Now, I picked up things at random today. I'm like, this might be interesting. Let's see what I can do with it. Now, in poultry seasoning, at least was this a poultry seasoning from McCormick? I don't know if all of them do it. The ingredients in this blend are thyme, sage, marjoram, rosemary, black pepper, and nutmeg. When I looked up the herbs individually, thyme is really good for protection and clearing out negative energy. I know sage does the same thing. Rosemary is really good for protection. It can also be used in love magic. Black pepper I already went over. So I looked up marjoram and nutmeg. Well, coincidentally enough, when you use thyme and marjoram together, thyme acts to cleanse from negative energy, and marjoram brings positive energy in. So if you were looking at Native American smudging practices, Native Americans have 4 herbs or 4 specific plants that are absolutely critical to their spiritualism, especially when it comes to the sacred art of smudging. The first one is white sage. White sage acts to cleanse a space of negative energy. But they also use a plant called sweetgrass, which helps to bring positive energy back in. There are 2 other plants. One is tobacco and one is cedar, and I will go over those at another time. Primarily because I wasn't planning on delving into that, and I don't remember quite off the top of my head. But I'm just giving you an example. Generally, you cleanse, get rid of anything that's negative, and then you generally light another herb, or you do smoke cleansing with another herb to bring positive energy back in. So thyme and marjoram actually work hand in hand in that aspect. Nutmeg is good for prosperity, and say you're looking to draw money to you, that's a good herb for that. So if all you had was some salt and pepper and some poultry seasoning, you're good to do any kind of like magical purpose for a prosperity candle or something of that nature. Ironically, all the other things that I picked up are for prosperity as well. In one of my earliest videos, and I can't remember which one off the top of my head, hey, I got a brand new bottle of bay leaves. I didn't realize it was brand new. Whoops. I had mentioned that a simple wish spell would be to take a bay leaf. I recommend like a felt tip pen or something that you can write with easily, because keep in mind these are dry and very brittle, and writing a wish on it. So if you're wishing for prosperity, if you're wishing for love, if you're wishing for anything, peace, you write it on a bay leaf and then you light it. This will not flame up. Bay leaves tend to burn very slowly, and I can actually demonstrate. Let me find a smaller one, because I want you to know that you're safe to hold on to it, at least initially while you're doing this. I'll do it with this one. It's right near the top, and I can put this one back in the container because I don't need a whole bay leaf for what I'm about to do. I try not to be wasteful. Okay, so here I have my Chesapeake Bay Mind and Body Peace and Tranquility candle. All you do is you take the bay leaf after you've written on it and you light it. You see how that barely is smoking? This is a very slow burning herb. I'm just gonna try to put out the flame a little bit, or not the flame, the little cinder. And it burns really slowly, so you can light it, put it in a heat-safe container. Obviously, for any sort of candle work, you always want to make sure you have a heat-safe container. I didn't bring any upstairs, but for the purpose of demonstration, I'm going to just place this after I'm done with it in the lid of the mason jar, the small mason jar that I have, simply and only because I am not leaving this unattended. After the video is done, I'm putting it out. I'm being safe. So make sure whatever you put this in is in a heat-safe container. Now, you do not have to buy a candle holder or anything of that nature. You can. You absolutely can. And if you have one around the house, or if you have a jar where the candle has burned out of it, I save these because I can reuse them and put my spell candles in them and just keep reusing the jar until I can't anymore. So bay leaf is also a really good herb for prosperity. And all you do, you can do it in your hands, you can do it in a mortar and pestle, which I do have one, but I have herbs and herb blend already in there, which is why I didn't bring it up with me. Oops. Just crush it up the best you can. Add it to the jar. And for the purposes of the spell, and since I already covered it, I'm going to add some poultry seasoning into it. Not a lot, just enough to make sure that I get a little bit of everything. That's really all you're really looking to do, especially when it comes to an herb blend. Shake it up before you Open it, sprinkle enough so you get a little bit of everything. That's really all you have to do. Ground cloves, also really good for prosperity. The funny thing is, none of this was planned. And you don't need a lot of anything. Nutmeg, as well as cinnamon, both work to speed up ritual work. So if you're doing a petition for anything, just add a little bit of cinnamon in it, and it'll help speed it up and help speed it working faster for you. Okay, ground sage is good for cleansing, protection. And these days, who doesn't need a bit of that? Okay, let me try it that way. Hello. I know you got something in you. There we go. Must be pretty empty. Yep, it is. That's okay. You don't need a lot. Little will go far. You don't need to make a big, huge container of anything. You really only want to use enough so that, you know, you can get the properties of it. Lastly, ground ginger, and this is a really old container. That's especially why I'm using it for spell work. Also works for prosperity. So, all in all, you do a fairly good blend. Now, if you're doing an herb blend in advance and you want to supercharge it, if you want to amp up its potency, what you can do is you can do something like this about a week or so before a full moon, and put it in the container, close it up, let it sit in a windowsill. Now, the potency of a full moon energy, it is strongest the 3 days before, the day of, and the 3 days after the full moon. So you're basically looking at pretty much an entire week of moon energy, during which you can charge your herbs, charge water, charge your oils if you so wish. Rarely are you supposed to charge things in daylight unless it's for specific purposes. Primarily, you should be charging with moonlight. The full moon's energy tends to be for releasing things, and the new moon energy is for drawing things in. So for something like this, where it's money or protection or anything of that nature, you might want to charge this in the new moon versus the full moon. If you were doing full moon magical purposes or anything it's like you want to let go of stuff, I would recommend charging it with the full moon energy. Just as a little note in there. And so now we have our herb mix, and I'm just going to use, I had bought these little wood spoons so that I could mix things without using plastic. Now, if you would like me to do a video on where you can get quality herbs or products, if you don't mind spending a little money, I can do that. I know of a few really good places, one of which is not one that many people really know about. Even the New Age stores and pagan stores that sell their products don't know about them. But I'm just putting the bay leaf that decided to pop out of the jar out at me back inside. And because I didn't bring up a mortar pestle, I'm just kind of trying to grind it up a little bit better together. Make sure everything is well incorporated and blending nicely together. Put back in the things that popped out at me again. This is an easier process to do in a mortar and pestle because things are less likely to just jump out at you. But if you get a mortar and pestle, I recommend getting a smaller one that you can fit your hand over, so you can put the mortar, or is it the pestle, one or the other, in between two fingers. And initially when you're crushing things, you keep your hand over it so that things aren't popping out at you. Now the only thing that I have here that is not something you're going to find in your kitchen is my Dragon's Blood oil from Azure Green. When it comes to Dragon's Blood oil, this is my absolute favorite brand of oil. Now again, you do not need this. You don't. You are not required to get this. You can use olive oil. It's pretty much the exact same purpose. The only thing that I love about Dragon's Blood oil is I love the scent of it, and I love that it gives an extra boost to things. But you can just use regular olive oil from your kitchen. It does not have to be expensive. It does not have to be anything fancy. So don't feel, especially if you're just starting out, or if you're someone who doesn't have a lot of money, that you have to go out and spend a lot of money to get the things that you need. Okay? You can make do with pretty much anything you already have in your house. The entire thing that matters is your intention behind what you're doing. Now, off screen, before I started the camera, I already cleansed my candle. Whenever you buy candles, especially if you're not making things yourself, you need to smoke cleanse your candle in some way with an herb that is good for cleansing, because you never know what energies these products may have picked up when they were wherever they were being stored, or wherever you bought them from. You don't know who picked them up. Maybe someone picked up a candle one day and was in a really nasty, negative mood and was just not having a good day. You don't want that energy getting into your candle and getting into the workings that you're doing. So it's always important to cleanse your candle. And I already did mine, and what you do is you just light an herb that is good for cleansing, and you work it around with the intention to cleanse it of anything that is not for the benefit of what you're doing. Cleanse off any hostile energy, cleanse off anything that's heavy feeling, get rid of it, so that you are starting with a bare bones candle with no attachments to it. Now, before I do this, because I already know after experience this is going to be a little messy, so I'm preparing in advance my towels, and you can use a regular rag. It's just I forgot one, and these I reuse them over and over again, but I just want to have this ready, because once I do this, I know it's going to be a little bit messy. Now, when you cleanse your candle, it's also wise to cleanse your space. It's wise to cleanse yourself, get rid of anything that you no longer want or you don't really want to carry with you, especially when you're doing energy work. And anytime you are doing things like creating a spell candle, you're putting your energy into this to set your intention. And what I generally like to do is I take dragon's blood oil. Dragon's blood oil is one that I personally do not have an issue with using straight, right out of the bottle. I believe it's one of those oils. Oh God, I forgot how much I love that smell. I haven't used it in so long. It's one that I have never had a reaction to. Again, be very careful with oils. Remember, these are botanical oils. If you are sensitive to botanicals, if you are sensitive to scents, if you are sensitive to any kind of oils, always be very careful to spot check something before you put it directly on your hands. And it's very, very, very critical to note that most essential oils that you buy, especially those in the small vials that you can get in the store or anything, they have to be mixed with a carrier oil before you use them topically on the skin. A lot of the oils that you buy as essential oils are extremely potent. And you have to mix a few drops of it, just like 2 or 3, with an oil, like I said, that's called a carrier oil. And what a carrier oil does is it dilutes the potency of the oils, so it's less, not so much less strong, but less likely to cause a topical reaction. Some carrier oils are olive oil, jojoba oil, coconut oil. Those are just 3 off the top of my head. So it's something that you should still be able to readily find in your home. Should be fairly easy to find. It's just, if you're going to use something on your skin, always do a little test patch first. And especially when it comes to essential oils, use a carrier oil, because you don't want to have any sort of negative reaction. So, with the dragon's blood oil, or what you can do with your olive oil, is I literally put 1 drop in the middle of my hands. I rub it between both hands, and I will rub them back and forth. And what I'm working to do is I'm working to generate energy between my hands. You can see they're a bit shiny now from the oil. And when I feel a little bit of heat generated, I'll put them together, and I'll take the candle in my hands, and I will take a moment to mentally ask for my petition. So, I have thought my intention 3 times, and I pushed the energy of those thoughts mentally into the candle. So when you hold your candle, think of what it is you want, then envision that request traveling down your arms and going into the center of the candle and staying there. And do that 3 times. Once that is done, take a bit more oil. You don't need a lot, but basically what you're trying to do is coat the candle from bottom, and for positive workings you want to go up. So first you'll take the candle, you'll rub it around on the oil, and then you'll work to coat the candle in oil, going from the bottom to the top, just like so. And the reason why you're doing this is you want to get some oil on the candle so that your herb blend sticks to it. Try not to get any of the herbs on the bottom, otherwise it might make the candle a little lopsided. And all you're going to do is add some herbs to the candle. What you can do is you can take the candle and roll them in the herbs. Now everybody has a different dominant hand that they use when they do this kind of work. Some people find that coating the candle and holding the candle and putting the oil on the candle with their right hand feels better. For me, even though my right hand is my dominant hand, I have always felt my left hand is the better hand to use for this. But use whatever feels right for you. Once you have the candle completely coated, go ahead and put it in your stand. See what I mean? How I said it was going to be messy? Try to get the excess off. I know, despite my best intentions, I know some of it still got on the table, but that's okay. Now if you want to try to salvage the herbs that you have and put them in a jar and save them, you can absolutely do that. But be careful, because now that these herbs have become coated in an oil, they'll be more likely to turn rancid, which is another reason why it's important to, or I recommend only using an amount of herbs that you really need when it comes to doing this kind of stuff. See, I didn't use a lot of herbs when making this blend purposefully because I didn't want to have a lot of waste afterwards. And I did pretty well with making sure that it wasn't too wasteful. You just make sure everything is balled up as much as possible. I had bought these Artis dupe brushes, but I found when using them they were really hard to clean. So now I frequently use them to brush my tablecloth or clean things up. And then they get used and I don't feel bad about, you know, they're just sitting there and I haven't done anything with them. I used them a couple times early on in my videos, but after I had used one, especially once, to apply foundation, and it literally took me a week to get the foundation out of the brush. I was like, I'm not gonna do that again. What's sad is I had actually soaked the brush in brush cleaner for days and days and days and days, and it still was releasing foundation and pigment. So I have a little garbage bag back there. So now that that's done, and now that you have coated your spell candle, I'm going to reseal the dragon's blood oil. I personally never wash my hands after doing this because the smell. The smell on my hands is so nice between the nutmeg and the spices and the dragon's blood, and I just personally for me feel like I'm carrying the energy of the spell that I just put into the candle with me and keeping that intention and energy strong. Now this is just a matter of personal preference. Most people feel fine lighting candles with a lighter. And I have even one right next to me. But for me, I have always felt that it's right for me to use a wood match versus a lighter or like a matchbook. But again, use what works for you. Use what feels right for you. Your magical workings are all in your own intention and what feels right for you. So after you've done your candle, woo! Now it is lit. That initial very high flame up that was like this high generally means that what you're doing has a lot of energy behind it and a lot of strength behind it. So with that, I hope this video has been helpful, and I hope this little tutorial finds you well. And again, if you, over time I'm going over herbs and purposes and all of that kind of stuff. I might do a couple videos talking specifically about different purposes with different herbs attached to them, so that, you know, if you're looking for a specific purpose, it's easier to find what herbs you may want to use. But yeah, I hope this has been helpful. I hope if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and leave me a comment down below. If you would like more like it, please let me know. I know what prompted this was I had done a question on Twitter, and people seem to unanimously vote that when I was discussing how-tos, they would like me to physically demonstrate the process. So, okay. In conclusion, I wish you love, I wish you joy, I wish you kindness, I wish you prosperity, I wish you joy, I wish you happiness, I wish you love, I wish you protection, and most of all, I wish you brightest blessings. Until next time, blessed be.